Hey, Michelle.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us today at Apollo's Nonprofit Bites and Insights. We are talking about Introduction to Microsoft Dynamics 365 being led and sponsored by RSM. We are in the second of a three-part series with them. If you weren't able to join us last week, I would highly recommend checking that webinar out. They provided an amazing overview about this tool. This is already up on our website, but I will be sending this slide deck in the follow-up email. So you'll have this link, which will give you direct access to that recording. Today, we're going to be focusing on the fundraising tool, and then next week will be our last week of the series, focusing on volunteer management. So before I turn it over to them, a few housekeeping details. This webinar is also being recorded and will be added to the Aparo website. All of you attending today will receive a follow-up email letting you know that the recording is ready to be viewed, as well as any slide decks. Down here, this is what your toolbar should look like. As you can see, you'll have a chat and the Q&A option. Feel free to use those to drop in your questions. We love having conversations, so you can use a chat box to make any comments or introductions as well. And then finally, there is also closed captioning available if you'd like to use that. For those of you who weren't able to join us last time and are new to Aparo, welcome. Just a little bit about us. We are also a nonprofit that helps other nonprofits in the community around their technology and business process needs. And the model that we use to support that is that we connect the nonprofits with skilled volunteers. We have 3 buckets of services. Typically, if you're a new nonprofit to Aparo, you'll go through the advice service. So this is where you meet one-on-one with the tech therapist, and you can discuss your technology needs, or even if you kind of don't know what you need, this is just a great place to start to have that conversation. Also, under advice, let's say you do know what you need, and let's take an example of an Excel spreadsheet. And let's say you're tracking your programs on this Excel spreadsheet, and you can do something better with it. You can make it more efficient. We have a lot of amazing volunteers who are experts in Excel and can help you maximize your use with that Excel spreadsheet. Under education, we have team training. So let's say your entire team needs to understand how to use your Excel spreadsheet. We also have team trainings and workshops available where we can tailor that training specific to that Excel spreadsheet you're working on. And then finally, continuing on that example, let's say you get to a point where it's just not sustainable anymore and you need to find a better solution. And maybe that solution is looking into CRMs. So we at Aparo can also support you with that process. And then lastly, these are different ways to connect and stay engaged with us. I do want to highlight something new. We recently opened up our Google review feature. So if you like what we do at Aparo, we would love it if you could drop in a Google review for us. All right, that is it for me. I am going to stop sharing and go ahead and turn it over to the RSM team.
Thank you very much. Let's see. Let me share my screen here and we will get going. We have a lot to cover today. So I think, are we all set, Yin-Ting, seeing the presentation? Excellent.
Yes.
All right. So for those of you that I didn't meet last week, my name is Michelle Juliana. I'm our nonprofit consulting leader for RSM. I'm based in Charlotte. And for those of you that haven't met us, I'm going to be introducing you throughout the morning to Patrick, Zach, and Adam, who are members of our nonprofit consulting team. And we all work for RSM. If you haven't worked with us before, We are a national accounting and consulting firm. We have offices around the country, about almost 400 in Charlotte, and work a lot with nonprofits. So you can see we have over 5,000 nonprofit clients. So we love to take all that experience and share that with you. We work with a lot of different platforms, sort of all the major platforms that nonprofits use, but we do a lot with Microsoft, and you'll see why today. We're really excited to share with you the new technologies that Microsoft has developed to extend all the solutions that you've been using for years to the needs specifically of nonprofits. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to really focus in on the development aspects of being a nonprofit around fundraising, engaging with your potential donors and donors. We'll talk about what that journey looks like and go a little deeper than we did last time into the actual software, so you can kind of see a day in the life of someone in the development function, and then talk about the analytics, some of the reporting that's available to take advantage of the power of the Microsoft platform. And then we will leave time for questions. You're welcome to put any questions in the chat. We will be monitoring them, and we'll try to address them as we go, or we'll just save those for the end. So just very quickly, when we work with nonprofits, we're really focused on some major issues that we've seen over time that are very common. Lack of resources, or at least a certain amount of resources that we've got to be very cognizant of, whether it's time, people, money, budget. So we're always looking for more resources. Fundraising is a very important part of that. And that's really where we're going to spend our time today. We also do a lot of work with the accounting and financial aspects of nonprofits, and of course, reporting overall, just to analyze the impact that you're making in your communities. So these are kind of the big areas that we tend to spend a lot of time on today as we talk about our interaction with donors. I just wanted to share with you a few things I've heard this week. I've been on several different presentations around what's happening in the donor community and what that means to inform how we use technology. So our firm has an economic analyst team that looks at all the trends that are kind of happening in the world at large. So if we look at kind of a very volatile world, we're seeing inflation, decreases in the stock market, rising interest rates, a really tight labor market. We're looking at all these things and seeing, all right, what impact does this have on nonprofits? Interestingly enough, as you would expect, donors are cautious. They're trying to figure out how to best use their funds. But more than ever, they are really aware that there is even greater need. So because of all these challenges and many more, there is actually an increase in donations. A lot of what they're finding in these studies are that small and mid-level donors are giving at about the same level. So there hasn't been a big drop off, but they are focusing their efforts on a smaller number of organizations. So that really puts a lot of pressure on all of us as you're working in a nonprofit to be aware of who else is kind of competing for your time with the people that you're talking to. But interestingly enough, major donors, which is defined generally as $10,000 or more per year, are giving more. So what does that mean? You know, we're going to talk today about technology. Just a few things to be thinking about. As I said, you know, we don't think of competition that much in the nonprofit space, but we are all competing for time, resources, talent, money. Being aware of how other people are communicating. Most importantly, especially for larger donors, what they want to hear about is the impact that they're making. They do recognize that there's a need, and that can be really told in a variety of ways. We're going to talk about the concept of omni-channel. Make sure, you know, that you're thinking of a variety of touches, the variety of the types of people that you're talking to. So sort of this mass marketing and reaching out to a lot of different people can work for certain audiences, but we're finding more and more people want a personalized experience. They want to understand what's important to them They want to know that the nonprofit understands what's important to them. And also, especially for the larger donors, understand all the relationships that touch them. Who do they work for? Who is their family? Who do they know? Sort of pulling all that together is more critical than ever, especially as we're seeing increases in donations, and we want to make sure that we are communicating our message so that the right people are making their resources available to us. So these are just some kind of quick trends. I just learned a lot of this in several different presentations this week, so it's kind of hot off the presses, and we wanted to apply these findings to the technology we're going to share with you today. So we're going to kind of cover the full cycle of the Microsoft, what we call the Microsoft stack, which is kind of how do all the different Microsoft tools fit together from the perspective of a development individual and also from the perspective of a donor. So we're kind of going to look at it from both ways. And I'm going to go ahead and actually turn this over to Patrick to get us started thinking about what that journey can look like. Patrick, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then you can take over my screen.
Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patrick Blewett. I'm coming to you from outside the Philadelphia area. I've been a marketing consultant with RSM for the past 2 years, and I've specialized in the Dynamics marketing technology during my time at RSM, and been a part of many implementations where we combined the Dynamics marketing platform with Microsoft's fundraising engagement and additional nonprofit technologies. And on that note, I'm going to share my screen. You guys able to see my screen?
Yep, we're all good.
Great. So what I have here is the general marketing area. I'm going to navigate into Dynamics marketing, but this just kind of serves to show us that in your Dynamics marketing system, you have access to all your other CRM data at the same time. So a great pro of marketing is that that data is living in the same system as your CRM and your nonprofit technology. It's not managed in an outside third-party application. And before I go any further, I just want to jump into my PowerPoint here, my screen. And just kind of establish the 3 areas we're going to talk about today are omni-channel, the different mediums where you can reach your donor audience, segmentation, which is the aligning of your audience in different groups so you can deliver the right personalized content, and email marketing, which is the actual content you like to deliver in marketing, especially in D365 marketing. And you guys can see I'm back in the application. I know my screen shares a little bit.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you very much. So in the marketing execution area, the first area I want to highlight is social post. Dynamics marketing is very easily integrated with LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And we can see here what it looks like when a Facebook post goes live from Dynamics marketing. You're able to track your interactions in your timeline here. You can preview the post and see the different comments and likes that come in. So this is a great way to kind of take a little bit of a social temperature of how your social posts are doing outside of your email marketing campaigns, see how your social media is performing. And this is also available for Twitter as well. And we can see in our upcoming posts, it's very easy to design these posts, add media, create your message, and associate your Facebook account. So it's very straightforward to add this additional leg of marketing in your nonprofit marketing area. I additionally want to talk about segmentation. Segmentation is a great tool in marketing that lets you group together constituents based on information relative to their own personal accounts, such as demographic information, where they're coming to you from. But we can also go a step further and see their donor information, any specific committees they've been on, if they're a major donor in the past, maybe any, like we said, committees or fundraising engagements they've taken place in the past, and they're very easy to build. If we hop into one of our major donor segments here, we're able to easily group together all of our contacts who fall into our major donor category, which can be personalized across that can mean different things to different nonprofits. So here in our case, a major donor is considered anyone who has donated more than $1,000. And what's great about this segment is it's dynamic, meaning it's constantly being evaluated against your database of contact records. So this information will constantly be updating its member count, as you can see in the top right-hand corner. Currently, we have 73, but if after a new donor campaign, you have more contacts that fit this bill, they'll automatically be brought into this segment. And that really makes it an effective way to make sure you're always tracking and reaching out to the most important and most relevant contact data. And we're also able to go one step further, like I talked about, and look at constituents who belong to different committees. Maybe you want to target certain committees for donations. So in this case, we want to target all of our executive committees. And we're able to pull that data from a separate record in Dynamics. So we're going a step beyond the contact, but because that relationship exists, and even though this is technically nonprofit contact information, we can query it back into our marketing application as well. So this is a great example of how Dynamics marketing really allows you to tap into that information immediately rather than, like we said, being in a third-party marketing application. So we can see here we went from the contact record to the contact member table, and we're pulling in certain of the committee member table, and we're pulling in all the contacts or committee members on the following tables. So that's a really effective way for us to target the proper audience for our customer journeys, which is our next topic here. But first, we want to get into marketing emails. Marketing emails in nonprofit campaigns are a very common medium of promoting your campaigns, your webinars, certain events that are upcoming. And Dynamics Marketing has a very user-friendly marketing email editor. There's no code involved. You're able to easily add different elements, such as pictures, text. You can arrange different column lengths here. We're able to embed custom code or QR codes if you want to promote an event with a QR code sign up. We have call to action buttons, and this is all very drag and drop functionality or click and add. It's very user friendly. You have the option to dive into the HTML if you're a more technical resource, but we usually prefer the drag and drop here. I know I do. And this customer journey, this marketing email really gets delivered to our constituents through the customer journey. And what the customer journey is here in marketing is how you associate your audience to your email. So for example, here, we're going to look at the Giving Tuesday donation encouragement journey. And this is a hypothetical journey where we have Giving Tuesday coming up in a month, and we want to have a high touch email marketing campaign. So we've grabbed our segment of major donors to be our audience. And we've also added some conditions to this journey that we're going to wait until 1 month before Giving Tuesday to go live with it, to send that first email out. So we'll send out our first email here. We can take a preview of that. And then from here, we can set some conditional logic. So if the recipient of this journey clicks on this donate now link, we can track that and split our journey into 2 directions. So our contacts who have clicked on the donate now link can complete the journey. But if the contact did not follow the link, we can wait for 2 days and send them a different version of the email. And in this version of the email, maybe we change the location of our donate now call so it's a higher visibility. could be one way of promoting more donations, just getting different content out there to our audience, and so on. We can continue this trend into a third version of the email to evaluate that as well. And as this journey is live, we'll be able to track our contacts through the different stages of the journey to understand where they are in this journey and what they've interacted with in the marketing email, in the marketing insights. The marketing insights provide some really in-depth information about the interactions your contact has had with your own marketing content. And additionally, you can view the analytics on your own marketing email to see who opened it, when it was opened, specific links that performed well. So this is a great resource to use to establish a high touch campaign and also closely monitor your audience's interactions with your marketing emails to know what's going to be the best type of marketing content to deliver to them moving forward. And that at a high level covers our segmentation, journey, and omni-channel marketing. Again, feel free to ask any questions of me in the chat. I'll be monitoring there as well. But on that note, Michelle, I think I'm ready to hand it off back to you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Patrick. I mean, you can see here the concept of omni-channel marketing, which really started in the retail space, is such a great tool for a nonprofit because you just don't know these days where people are paying attention. So being able to map out that journey and make it really easy and visual. What we're going to see next, Zach is going to actually take us into the CRM aspect of the software. And you can see then the power of how all this information comes together and integrates in with your Microsoft platform to make it easy for all of you to use. All right, Zach, you ready?
Yeah, give me 1 second. You should see my screen. No. Okay, let me know when you can see it. It should say development overview at the top.
I see it.
Excellent, thank you. So to start with, I actually want to go follow up on something Michelle said and everything Patrick said. So what we're looking at here is what's called a dashboard. This is your starting page. When you come in to start your day, this is the first thing you're going to see. Now, you notice I can have multiple dashboards as well as my own custom ones. One that I want to focus on right now is the marketing dashboard. So leveraging the items that Patrick showed us, we can start to see, campaign budget versus actual, or each campaign that generated a closed opportunity or a solicited donation that was successful. We can start to see the dollars raised by each campaign, as well as potential leads, right? People who are interested in us who say, oh yeah, I heard about your customer loyalty program, or you reached me through direct marketing. Right, so we can use these items to follow up and expand what Patrick was saying to bring that into this system and then start to view items he was referencing, like who clicked on the portal, how did they find us, what did they do, how much time did they spend. That whole profile gets integrated with what we're showing here on the dynamic side to actively bring that fundraising and engagement to the next level, drive better solicitation, provide better insight, and get a better return on your investment. So I hope that makes sense for everyone. Next, I want to go back to the development overview and talk about some of the things that we're seeing here and how this is related. So one of the first things you're going to notice is, in addition to having multiple dashboards, I can also have multiple what's called views. Now, a view is just a filtered list where you determine what are the columns that appear on screen when you select it. So if I'm looking at gifts from VIPs, I may want to see the amount and the specific VIP. If I'm looking at gifts from the portal or all gifts received all time, I may start to see different columns, right? Received versus booked, the donor, the amount, and where those dollars went. So right from here on my dashboard, I can get quite a bit of information. We find this does a good job of solving reporting requirements because, a report might be, show me a list of everything that's happened in the last 6 months. And on that report, I want to see these 5 items. And we can actually absolutely meet that requirement. We can make these wider, as you saw. So if I want to have 2 rectangles and a taller rectangle, right? That shape, that layout is something we can absolutely customize for you guys. Coming down here, you'll see my open opportunities, which is something we're going to talk about a little bit further shortly, which are potential donations or potential grants that we've applied for. You'll notice I can hover over any of these items in the key. It'll then highlight the appropriate slice of pie. I can also click on a slice of pie to get a little overlay as well as some more information. Okay, does that make sense for everyone? If I go into the fundraising area, now I'm going to see a little more information in the same idea, but instead of development, now it's fundraising. So it's a combination of my marketing and my actual solicitation. So campaigns and the dollars they've generated by type. So I can start to be a little more targeted. Now, all of these charts and graphs come out of the box, but we can add onto them and we can say, you know what, this one is not as relevant. This one is more relevant, things like that. The other cool feature we have here is we can start to probe, let's say gifts received by payment types. Okay, I have a whole bunch of cash gifts. Let me start to drill down in that. So show me all my cash gifts by donor, for example. Right, so now I can see one donor, Abigail, gave $1 million. That's kind of skewing my chart a little bit. I can click into any of these other ones and start to drill down further. So Hayden. Now let's say I want to see all of Hayden's donations that are cash by primary designation, right? By where am I actually sending those dollars once they come in? So from my main dashboard, I went from all of my gifts received, as you'll see, still labeled at the top. Then I grouped it by cash. Then within cash, I chose a specific donor. And now I have it by primary designation. So again, without needing to do a whole lot other than choose what I want to drill down by and then how I want that data to be reported back to me, I can get that information from my dashboard. The other nice thing I can do from my dashboard is you'll see this button here that says View Records. If I go ahead and click on that, now I can see on the left side of my screen the chart we were just looking at, and on the right side of the screen, all the records that make up that chart. So again, from here, I can start to say, show me a different filter, give me all my active transactions, still filtered on Hayden Cook. I can remove that filter to get all my records here. You'll see I have 261. And I can start to filter them here as well. So let's say I want to see it by Rachel. Right now, again, without having to do a whole lot, I can start to refilter. I can filter on my right side in the list to update my chart. I could filter on my chart on the left side to update the list on the right. So super powerful, no training involved, no real configuration at all. Something that everyone should be able to do pretty simply. If there's no questions on that, I want to jump into an individual's profile and continue to tell that story that Patrick started for us, that customer journey. Right, so we've solicited this individual, and actually, let's take a step back for a second. Let's go onto a portal. So one of the things that Patrick mentioned was someone clicked on a Donate Now button, right? So you'll see that I'm logged in as Hayden Cook. For those of you paying close attention here, you'll see that we also have events and engagements that we're going to talk about next week, as alluded to. Let's say I go ahead and click on this Donate Now button. So I can start to fill out my gift frequency. Is this one time, monthly, or yearly? Where do I want those dollars to go? A dollar amount. Is this all making sense for everyone? Beyond this, I can choose if I want to appear anonymous or not. Do I want to receive a receipt or not? If I want to give in tribute or memory of someone. So if I want to give in memory of, my uncle, and I can put his email or my aunt's email here, someone to be notified. Right, whatever the message I want to put here, who I am as the donor. Then we integrate with either your credit card processing or PayPal. And we're working on cryptocurrency, cash we can log here, checks we can log here, anything along those lines. Right, so now on my screen, you should see I'm Hayden Cook, the same individual who was logged in on the portal. And now I can start to see his profile. So what information am I gathering around this individual, right? What company is he a part of versus his household? Something Michelle alluded to in the beginning, right? So I can have that relationship with this individual and the company he works for, which I'll click on for you here. right? The screen is going to redraw. And now instead of this information being around that single individual, it's around an organization. So I can see I'm targeting them for a new park donation, right? I'm soliciting those dollars moving forward. I can see the objectives that they support. I can view my history of interactions with them. So my email timeline, right? Things that I've sent back and forth, phone calls we've had, meetings, appointments, tasks that are assigned relating to them. I can pull in primary contact information, right? So while down here, I'm looking at information related to that account, right? To Bailey, Ellis, and Cook, I can send them an email, call their phone. Over here above it, I'm pulling in information from their primary contact. So without having to go back to Hayden's record to pull up his information, I can interact with them right from here, send an email while looking at the account profile. I can also get right back to Hayden by clicking on his name. It's one of the key benefits of a relational database. All your tables are arranged and tied together such that navigating from one end of the system to the other very rarely is going to require you to start over back at your home screen and make some, a fresh search. If I come down a little bit on Hayden's side, we can start to see some of those items Patrick alluded to, where I can capture multiple salutations. And then depending on what he does, if he comes to my portal, gives a big generous donation, I would probably send a formal thank you, right? Then I'd be able to track when he clicked on that formal thank you note, if he opened it, schedule a follow-up call. So continue driving that tail forward and deepening that relationship with the individual. If I were to click on the household instead of the company, you're just going to see the same screen, except now instead of talking about an organization, I'm talking about a family. So I can start to see who are the members of this family, right? What are their roles? So I have the son, the father, the wife. What have they contributed as a family? Where do they live? How do they like to interact with our organization, right? So we can get a lot of data around Hayden and really build a comprehensive profile that allows us to interact with him in a very efficient way. Coming down a little bit, you'll see we can track memberships, due dates on that membership, expiration date, costing, any special privileges that come with a membership. So members are entitled to sign up for the golf outing at our next event, for example, right? We can keep track of all that. And that's something we'll talk about in our final session next week. We can keep track of birthdays for acknowledgement, giving levels. So again, if we wanted to have, a board of trustees kind of page on the website where you show, here's our top donors, here's everyone who's at the Visionary Society, right? However we wanted to leverage that information, it's automatically captured. You just set your thresholds. Then as someone meets the $50,000 threshold, they become a visionary. The engagement score is actually something that we've built ourselves at RSM to keep track of how are we doing with this individual. So as we're sending more emails, as donations are coming in, phone calls, each one of those is assigned a point value that updates his score. That's a reset the first of every month or the year or the week, however you guys find value in that. So we can keep track of who have I been reaching out to a lot and is reciprocating, or who do I need to warm up that relationship because they're not quite there yet, right? We haven't really reached out in some time. Coming back up to the center here, I want to talk about what we're looking at in this box where it says potential grant from Hayden. This is something I alluded to on the dashboard where we talked about that concept of an opportunity. It was that pie chart in the bottom left. So an opportunity is a potential donation, a potential gift, right? Where it's not just, hey, Zach, would you love to give $50 to support the park? Sure, no problem, right? That can be a one-off phone call or email. Something like this is going to be more significant, where there's going to be a process here, right? Which you'll note across the top, where I can start to say, okay, first I'm going to qualify this opportunity. Is this someone we want to be having that type of relationship with? Is this someone who can support that relationship, right? You're probably not going to come to me for $1 million grant, but if it was Bill Gates, you might think about moving forward. So we can tie that to a given donor, an expected amount, probability, and start to push that out to financial systems or dashboards and start to think about, how can we forecast this appropriately? We can tie it to specific marketing campaigns and the specific appeals, the individual email that this individual received about it. We can tie that default designation on here. So where are those dollars going once they come in, right? What is this individual supporting? We can bring back the preferences from Hayden's profile and start to apply them to this opportunity. So as I'm working it, I'm going to try to figure out, how can I tie health education into my park project, right? Maybe we want to have a special area, whatever the case may be. We can keep track of our reporting. So if Hayden requires monthly reports, annual reports, based on where each of those dollars are going from his grant, it's something we can absolutely accommodate, send you Outlook reminders, all those fun interactions and integrations. Your stage history, so we can keep track of how long have I been in each stage. These are fully configurable to match your process. They're also branching. So if he's giving over $1 million and we need to escalate to Michelle for approval, we can do that. If it's under $1 million or under 10,000 and we want to just get right to the signature stage, we can do that as well. Each of these, you'll notice, are down here with the appropriate steps, right? How long was it in here? And what did I do? What was my interaction with this individual to close them? So I can see, I sent 50 emails, 5 phone calls, and scheduled 6 meetings, right? Just something to keep track of how we're interacting with this individual. Finally, the designation plan. So of that $500,000 that's coming in, what am I going to do with it? So he wants 20% to go to core programs, 15% to research, right? We can configure this all the way down so we know exactly where every single dollar is going. Finally, when we close this opportunity, when we've moved forward with Hayden, he's going to write us that check for $500,000. I'll just bring one up here. So this is how a transaction looks. I can see the gift type. If it was credit card, came through the portal, came via a certain marketing campaign. If it's tied to his membership, if it's linked to a given pledge, and then again, where do each of those $1,000 go? So we can keep track of that initial relationship where Patrick just kind of put it out in the world and we're hoping that people are interacting with our message, receiving it positively and wanting to move forward, to the point where we're now, interacting with that person, trying to nurture that relationship, get to the point where we can actually close a transaction, closing that transaction in this system, pushing it over to accounting, interacting with the portal, that full scope of building that relationship with a given individual. So I'm going to stop there. I only have 2 minutes left. If there's any questions we want to cover, I'm happy to do that now. Otherwise, I really appreciate everyone's time.
Yep, and hang on, Zach. We're going to have some time for questions at the end, so please just put those in the chat.
Perfect.
So, all right, so kind of going back to what's important as we're engaging with our donors and potential donors. So we talked about multiple mediums, approaching people in different ways, and we showed how you can do that using the Microsoft technology. We talked about personalization, understanding what's important to them, and understanding how they're related to all their interactions with the organization. Next week, we'll talk a little bit more about other ways of engaging, like volunteering, and how do you really understand all those relationships, as well as relationships to other people that they're connected with. So we kind of showed how that's all built in within a very natural environment as you're working right within Outlook and SharePoint to share files and Teams to communicate with people. So it's all kind of built into the same experience. But none of it matters if it's not working, right? So what we're going to talk about today next is how do you measure success? How can you use some of the powerful tools that are built within that Microsoft platform to know, is your approach working, so that you can constantly be testing and adjusting and testing and adjusting and working through all different types of approaches and stopping if something's just not really that effective. So Adam, I'm going to let you jump in and just give us a little bit of a taste, because this is a topic we could talk about for about a month, I think, but just a little taste of what's possible, and we'll continue this in future conversations.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Michelle. Hi, everyone. My name is Adam. I am a data analytics and business intelligence consultant here at RSM. I've worked on a handful of Power BI reporting projects, specifically with the nonprofit industry. It's actually one of my favorite industries to serve. Just a little bit more background on me. Both of my parents started nonprofits, so it's something I'm particularly passionate about. So any type of value I can add for nonprofit clients is something I take a lot of personal pride in. So let me go ahead and share my screen really quick. Great. Can you see these slides?
Yes. Yeah.
Great.
Just go ahead and put them in presentation mode and we'll be good to go.
Yep. Oops. Oops.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not sure why this isn't working.
Sorry, just down at the bottom, Adam, on the
Oh.
keep going. There you go.
Got it. Yep.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
All right.
All right. So before I get into the specific uses of Power BI and how it could be a really transformative tool for organizations to use to visualize their information, I want to get into some of the nonprofit reporting challenges specifically and how RSM as an organization has acknowledged these and leveraged these to fill some gaps that exist in the typical reporting environments for nonprofits. So one of the main difficulties is even finding a reporting analytics solution. Lots of nonprofits continue to use the Excel graphs and tracking and sharing information through emails, which is not always the most suitable way to really distribute information between the members of your organization. And if you're already working with Dynamics, what's nice about being in the Microsoft family of technologies, Power BI is a great solution that easily integrates within the existing tools that you're using. And that's one of the main selling points and benefits to using a tool like Power BI. And additionally, it's hard to retain members and talent, and that goes into the staff capacity as well. A lot of the staff that you do have, you wouldn't want them spending a lot of time on developing reports. You really just want to have an environment set up where you can consume the information and leverage it to your advantage as an organization. One of my mentors who's been a part of implementing a lot of digital transformations to different companies, he would often say to me, you are what you don't automate as an organization. So the more time you spend doing manual tasks and not really focusing on the value that you can deliver, and for nonprofits, that specifically goes to delivering value to the communities you serve. The less time you spend doing that, the more time you are an organization that is a manual reporting organization. So the value for Power BI too, with the automation of the dashboards that are available, is you'll save a ton of time with those reporting processes. So now we've talked a little bit about the challenges. Let's talk about when you are creating these dashboards and reports, what are some of the things that these organizations and nonprofits, what do they want to see? So when it comes to demographics, if you're interacting with students, you want to get metrics for their donors, types of members, events. I won't dive too deep into these, and I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of these, but there's so much information that you can produce. And what's nice about Power BI is all the information that is accessible in the Dynamics environment, you can have readily available to you in dashboards you can create, and that are extremely customizable for you to visualize and really gain insights from an analytical perspective. Right. So taking all this information in mind about what nonprofits want to see in their analysis, and also some of the common challenges they face, one of the things that our team at RSM has developed to help serve nonprofit clients is the not-for-profit data accelerator, is what we call it. This is a pretty text-heavy slide, I know, but essentially what the nonprofit accelerator does is it takes the information that is native out of the box from the fundraising and engagement data within Dynamics 365 customer engagement, and it produces that data into really easily digestible and easily distributable dashboards that can be embedded within the customer engagement module. So it's really easy and seamless for users to get meaningful analytics out of the data that's being captured already. And it provides a centralized location for everyone within the organization, everyone using Dynamics to access the information that they want to see. And there's the key benefits. You can analyze the performance of anything you want to track, any specific data point that exists in Dynamics, you'll be able to see in Power BI. There's drill down capabilities, as Zach and Patrick showed previously. And we really want to promote the self-service analytics piece of this, users within the organization going to an easy place to digest the information and also share that with others. And using this information, having it is one thing, using it to adjust any type of fundraising strategy you have based on trends you see within the analytics is really what we want to accomplish, and making that as easy as possible for the users is the goal of the accelerator. And we'll dive in a bit more into the value proposition here before we get into the specific tool. So what the accelerator has allowed our clients to do is stand up and distribute analytics very quickly. They're template dashboards that we've tested with a variety of clients, but they can also be tweaked and configured in specific ways that our clients deem fit, and if there's any additional KPIs or OKRs, the objectives and key results that we want to track and view, we're able to do that. And we've spoken a lot about like the omnichannel that Patrick has shared before, and we can create dashboards for multiple channels and really allow that historical reporting and analysis to drive any future decision making that goes on. Again, with the automation, there's little maintenance required for these accelerators. It's refreshed on a schedule, so there's no manual input required from the users. And also, it is an incredibly affordable analytics option compared to some of the other reporting tools that exist out there, especially when you consider the low effort of being easily able to connect to and integrate with the other aspects of Microsoft, and just leveraging the whole suite of products they have available to you to really facilitate the easy consumption of information within your organization. Right. So now I'm going to show you some visuals to kind of help you understand how a typical engagement for our team goes, and hopefully this will demonstrate the transformative value that Power BI as a tool can have on the reporting and ability to access and share information on an organization. So this is an example from a previous client, data scrub for confidentiality, of course, but this is like an example of a report that we've seen in the past that they were using and distributing through email. It's not particularly engaging. It's hard to really derive the information that we're getting out of this. So if you were to hand this to a new member of the organization, it's really hard to make sense of what this is. And what we can do is transform something like this into something like this, where you have a complete dashboard that's really easily digestible, easy to understand, with really great, powerful visuals that you can click on and interact with to get the most out of the information. The design of this is something that we've worked on for a while for these accelerators, based on feedback from other nonprofit clients. And I think you'll see in some future examples as well that it's really easy to digest, and some of the information you want to see is readily available, and these can even be tweaked to further enhance the visual aspects of the reports. Right, so I provided a few more examples. This is a dashboard for gift comparison analysis. So you can see which campaigns the gifts would typically go to by year. In the bottom right here, you see the total amount over each year. You also see the designations for each broken up into bar charts. And when you're actually in the Dynamics or Power BI tool, you can click on these for drill down capabilities. And also the filters up top, you can filter on any date, designation, or campaign name you'd like, and you'll be able to see the dollar amounts. So it's really great for tracking any fundraising gifts that you receive. And then here's another great dashboard for the objectives and key results. This one is customizable to have whatever you would like to display That's how Power BI can be customizable for your organization. If you want to see if some of the major metrics you want to see that's have a lot of emphasis for you are new donors, major donors, planned donations, lapsed donors, you can filter that by year, and you can see the count by month as well, using the filters and drill down capabilities for Power BI. And then additionally, here's another dashboard, a different type of view for the GIFs, where you can also see the table detail. I know lots of people who are very fond of Excel still like to see the tables presented, and have the option to export that into an Excel workbook. Power BI allows for that, and it'll dynamically update the Excel table for details as you configure the date packages and appeals filters, as well as drilling down on any of the visuals you see here. So. Yep, that was basically the Power BI desktop, the dashboards that you would be consuming. But Power BI is more than just Power BI desktop. There's a wide variety of services that you can leverage using Power BI to really get a powerful and really accessible reporting experience. One of my favorites is Power BI mobile app. They're constantly making updates and improvements to it for any type of analytics you need to do on the go, or if you're not at your computer. So that's another great feature. Yeah, that's all I really want to talk about. I'll kick it back to you, Michelle.
Okay, yeah, and this last slide just shows some of the different elements of the Power BI platform. Let's go ahead and move on. You will all get these slides, so you'll have a chance to review these in a little bit more detail. While we leave time for questions, I just wanted to put on the screen a couple of upcoming free events that we are hosting specifically for nonprofits. One is if you're a nonprofit in the healthcare space, we're going to be doing a webcast. You can register just by using the QR code. The other one, let's go back, Power Platform in a Day. That's actually an in-person event with Microsoft at their office in Raleigh. That's going to be offered to any nonprofits in the Carolinas to come and spend a half a day with the Microsoft and RSM team to really dive deeper into all the elements of the Microsoft Power Platform, which includes both Power BI, development app capabilities, and a whole bunch of different things that are included in that. So that's going to be really fun in person. And then our Innovation Summit is something that we do once a quarter. There is a nonprofit element to it, but it's also for all types of companies and nonprofits. And that's really for people that are heavy or they're heavy Microsoft users, or they're just interested in Microsoft. So it's all different topics on innovative uses of Microsoft technology. So love to have you come to any of these events. They're all free. My contact information is on here if you have any questions. Let me see. We do have one question. So let's see. Power BI is separate from Aparo. How does Power BI and Aparo work together? Is RSM a facilitator or additional platform? Oh, good question. Okay, so Power BI is a Microsoft technology. Similar, it's a part of the overall Microsoft offerings that include Microsoft Dynamics, which is what we've been showing you, the CRM capabilities. So this is all software that is developed by Microsoft, and Power BI is one of those software applications. RSM is an implementation firm that works with organizations to understand what they need, figure out what is the right technology, what are the right elements of anything we've shown you here today or other technologies. We work with Salesforce and other products as well to help implement and make sure that those are successful. And then Aparo, Yenting mentioned earlier today what Aparo does, and all kinds of great things for the nonprofit community. So I think hopefully that clears that up, what the different relationships are. Question, is there special nonprofit pricing for Dynamics like there is for Salesforce? Absolutely. The cost is about 20% of the normal cost for the software.
And I just want to, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Michelle. I just want to make
Yep.
clear, that's not a 20% discount. It's 20% of what it usually is. So it's an 80% discount.
Yeah. Okay, and then there's a question about the general cost for Microsoft Dynamics. I don't have that. We can send it out separately, Zach. I don't know if you know the
No,
per
the-
user cost, but we can send that out afterwards.
Was that a question around the implementation? Because that,
The
well,
licensing.
okay.
Yeah,
So-
licensing really varies a lot depending on what your needs are. So, okay. Yes, we can certainly, and I just want to, the reason why I didn't want to kind of give you a general answer around the licensing cost is there are different elements to the solution. So I think it'll be easier for us just to send it out by email, and I didn't prepare a slide in advance, so we can definitely follow up with that. I think that is all I have for questions. Again, feel free to reach out to me for any questions or follow-up. Just quickly, Adam, if you want to move to the next slide, we can also address questions around a number of other topics that impact nonprofits. We do outsourcing of both accounting and IT services, cybersecurity, accounting systems, financial reporting, strategy for digital transformation, and a lot of other things. So any of those topics are fair game as well. So at that, I think that we really are finished with our content, and we really appreciate your time. We look forward to seeing you next Thursday. We're going to drill a little bit more into the software and really focus more on the full experience of managing a nonprofit, including your volunteers and events.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Before we hop off, just reminder, I will be sending up a follow-up email with the slide deck and the recording. And like Michelle said, if you do have any questions, you can actually feel free to reply to the follow-up email, send it to me, and I'll be sure to send it over to RSM to answer next time. And that is it for today. Hope you have a great Halloween weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
Ron.
you.